Welcome back to Open BXRx. While cultural institutions, including libraries, are not included in the Phase 4 reopening here in New York City, many educational resources are still being made available online. The Schomburg Center is one of the world's leading cultural institutions devoted to preserving and exhibiting African American history. Joining us now to discuss and share more is Kevin Young, Director of the Schomburg Center. Kevin, thank you so much for making the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me.
As we know, the Schomburg Center is an iconic cultural institution. It's been around for 95 years, but for those who may not be familiar, can you just give us a little bit about the mission statement?
Yeah, we're the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture. We've been based in Harlem since 1925, and we've always been part of the New York Public Library. We started as the Negro Division of the New York Public Library for history, literature, and prints. The next year, in 1926, we received, through the generosity of a grant and a purchasing of Arturo Schomburg's collection. Arturo Alfonso Schomburg is our founder in that way. His collection of 10,000 items gathered from around the world really formed the basis of the collection. And Arturo Schomburg was born in Puerto Rico. He's Afro-Latinx, and we very much honor that heritage. And when he was a child in Puerto Rico, someone told him there was no Black history. So he set about a teacher, sad to say. So he set about proving that teacher wrong, which he did easily. And just on a person working in a mailroom salary, he gathered this amazing collection, which he sold to the New York Public Library of 10,000 items. We now have 11 million items, and we've been named a National Historic Landmark in 2017. And we've just been going strong since then, collecting and providing access to work from around the world about global Black culture.
Thank you for that, Kevin. We may not be able to physically gather at the Langston Hughes Auditorium, for instance. However, important discussions are still happening virtually. But how have operations and plans changed at the Schomburg Center due to COVID-19?
Well, we're not open to the public, but we're still having events both online, and we have our old events and programs that we've been doing for 95 years, and obviously not videotaping that whole time, but very recently you can go especially via Instagram or Twitter, or find us on Facebook, and you can live stream material, you can check out clips, you can see basically what we've been up to recently, especially, and we have current events going on. We have an event with Isabel Wilkerson, the wonderful writer and Pulitzer Prize winner. Her new book, Caste, which is going to think about class, is coming out. And the wonderful book she wrote, The Warmth of Other Suns, about the Great Migration, which of course is what changed Harlem and brought us into existence. So I think it's going to be a fascinating conversation. And people can really find us in lots of different ways.
I also wanted to share some of the you have like over 10 beautiful, easy to navigate digital Schomburg's online exhibitions, such as the Black New Yorkers and Black Power, the Movement, the Legacy. I was looking through it. We have a few screen recordings that we want to share with our viewers. But can you tell me a little bit about the exhibitions that are available now for viewing?
Well, for instance, one of my favorites, favorite's the wrong word because it's just so powerful and moving, is the one on Emmett Till. The Emmett Till project is really haunting, and I think it tells us a lot about now, but you have scholars writing about Emmett Till, who died, of course, and was lynched in 1955, and who jump-started in many ways the modern civil rights movement, and this current moment is an extension of that. We just lost John Lewis, as you know, and C.T. Vivian, the wonderful civil rights figures, and I had met both of them in my time in Atlanta, and so to know that they're not with us, but to know also that there's this long legacy is really important. And I think things like the digital exhibition, the Emmett Till, the Black Power, they all tell you about where we've been and help us think about where we're going, but also where we are now.
Yes, and just to elaborate on that, it's always relevant and necessary to learn Black history and Black culture. But can we talk about the power of understanding and retracing the past now, especially during times of national civil unrest and movements happening nationally and here in the Bronx and Harlem as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We were hard hit and still are by COVID, and our neighborhoods, our boroughs, we face this in two different pandemics. We have the pandemic, of course, of coronavirus, but also the horrible pandemic of racism. And these documents, the things we've collected, the exhibitions we put on, the programs we host, these are all ways of trying to understand our moment, but also through the past. I think it's one of the wonderful things about the Schomburg Center is when you come see us online, you have that full context, that nearly 100-year history to understand. And it's one reason we put together, for instance, the Black Liberation Reading List, which we can talk more about.
Yes, that was the next question. I just wanted to bring
Well,
that
how'd
up.
I guess? That was wonderful.
So on the Black Liberation Reading List for both youth and adults, and the Black Bookstore Research Guide, and other resources that you have as
Yeah.
well, African Diaspora periodicals. There's so many resources, a wealth of resources that people can take advantage of right now.
Yeah, our librarians, our archivists, our booksellers, they've been busy. And one of the things we did is we created the Black Liberation Reading List. It's 95 books for our 95 years. And that's the first list we released. And it really goes everything from poetry to nonfiction. You'll find some classics like James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time. And then you'll also find Jessamine Ward's book, which she edited, called The Fire This Time, which is younger writers. I happen to be in that book, but thinking about the current moment. And it was a few years ago now. And so in a way, it's really prescient, talking about where we are now. And what I love about that list is it does include all these other genres. There's something for everyone. And so after that, for Juneteenth, we released the youth version of that for young readers. And that's really been wonderful to see these books that, it's 65 books that think about all ages of young people, from picture books, wonderful books about the Green Book, which we have the biggest collection of green books in the world, and also thinks about, how you can talk about Black Power with your kids, but also has pleasurable books. And I think the thing that we want to help people see is themselves, and see up close what Black liberation looks like, which isn't just one thing. So that's why we included history, but also poetry and art and music and even food, books that think about the whole of ourselves, which I think is very important in a time like now.
Right. And Kevin, you also have a book in there. Brown is your book name? Can you just
yeah, I promise I didn't put it in there.
Oh, it's not in there. Wait a minute. I think you spoke about it.
It's in there, but wasn't the one who did it. So I just want people to think I would have created the whole list for my one book. But
that
was my latest book of poems, which is a book about growing up in Kansas in part. And Linda Brown of Brown v. Board, the case that at least started the desegregation of the country, went to my church and played piano. And so for me, it was a way of writing about her, writing about lots of Browns, James Brown, being Brown, John Brown even makes his way in there. But I also was thinking about that important case and that important reverberation across history. There's poems about Harlem. It's really kind of an overview of thinking. And, there's a poem for Sandra Bland and poems for Trayvon Martin. It really is a book that when I was writing it, I was thinking a lot about these older figures, some of my heroes like Hank Aaron, the Home Run King, or, someone like James Brown. But then I really started writing about my son, who was a young person then, a few years ago, and just really thinking about the danger he might be in this moment, of police violence, which we've only seen more of lately. And so the book really is thinking about this layered idea of my growing up in Kansas and his growing up now in Atlanta and then up north.
Wow. Whoever decided to put the book in there, thank you. Thank you to your team.
Thank you. I thank them too, yeah.
And thank you for sharing. Speaking of youth, I just want to tie this in. On the Schomburg Center Junior Scholars Program, I know they were working before COVID-19, and
sure.
The pandemic hit, a lot of things changed for them. Can you just tell me a little bit about the program?
Yeah, it's been going about 18 years now. It's really a signature program of the Schomburg Center, Junior Scholars. And we bring about 100 kids together, and they used to gather once a week in person in the Schomburg Center itself. And it's just a great opportunity for once a week on Saturday for them to meet and to connect with each other, but also connect with our vast collections. Since COVID, they've been really wonderfully meeting on their own virtually and created and continue that community. And so we're definitely continuing Junior Scholars this fall. It'll look a little different, I think, just because we're not having people in the building. But community really translates, and they just finished their final project. So if you go to Schomburg.org or Schomburg Education, you can find some of their recent projects.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And before we go, just how folks can stay connected with the Schomburg Center and also access all the wonderful things you have, and a message from to the community from the Schomburg Center.
Yeah, to connect with the Schomburg Center, you can do it lots of ways. You can go online. I go on Instagram a lot, or Twitter at Schomburg Center is our handle there. Or you can just go to schomburg.org, or the new website, schomburgeducation.com, features some about the junior scholars. So there's a lot of links there. You can get to our digital exhibitions. And really the point is we want to create a home for everyone. We're part of the New York Public Library, which extends into the Bronx, of course. And we think of ourselves as neighbors, and a neighborhood that contains, a nation, indeed many nations. And so please think of us as another home for you, and please come online. And when we reopen, please come in person. We have some of the best dance parties around, and so we'd love to really see people and support them, and reach out. Let us know if there's a book you're reading, something you're connecting. And all those books, by the way, on the Schomburg 95 and on the Young Readers, most all of them you can check out for free with a New York Public Library card on our Simply e-reader. And right now we also are, through our branches, delivering books, or rather having grab and go of books. So you can come through and pick up books in your neighborhood. Please do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin, for your time today.
Hey, thanks.
Of course. So folks, again, you can stay connected by following at Schomburg Center on all social media. And for educational resources, archives, and more, visit schomburg.org. Open BXRx will be right back.